AP review time. Pandemic version 2020. Good morning, children. Back inside now, a lot warmer, and I've had this. So let's take a look at Act 2, Scene 2, how to analyze it, and then how to write a really good essay in response. Read the following passage from Shakespeare's Macbeth, then in a well-organized essay, analyze the literary techniques Shakespeare uses to characterize Lady Macbeth. Support your analysis with specific references from the text. Okay, cool. So let's read this passage. Lady Macbeth, on the night of the murder, asks Macbeth, "Who was it that thus cried? Why, worthy Thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things. Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look on it again. I dare not. Infirm of purpose. Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt." She leaves. Whence is that knocking? How is it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? They pluck out my eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. She returns and says, "My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white." I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy hath left you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. To know my deed, 'twere best not know myself. Wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst.
That was super dramatic.
Rightio. So here's the golden moment, all right? Tuck this one away because it's going to help you every single time you get an opportunity to do a response to a prose prompt, because the prose prompt is always going to focus on, helps if I have a pen, always going to focus on characterization, whether it's of a certain person or the relationship between people or characterize a society's response to something. Characterize. Right, so we know we're not going to set up our essay, organize our essay by literary elements. We know that. So how are we going to... Oh, we're always going to break it down by what are the ways that particular character is characterized. This is so easy. I don't know why we make it so hard, right? Lady Macbeth in this passage is characterized as whatever. She also gets characterized as something else. And then finally, Shakespeare also characterizes her as being rather whatever. Okay? Those are descriptions. For example, one that we're going to look at here real quickly is she's characterized in this passage as being extremely practical. Right? On a night where Macbeth is completely freaking out, and understandably so, and he's imagining all this stuff, and he's getting really like remorseful and you know, and she's all like, what evs, get some water, clean this up, let's go, hide the knives, dude. Right? So she's super practical. Well, she's also characterized in a couple other ways, and we'll get into that in just a second. But now you're like, whoa, wait, we have to talk about literary techniques. And you're absolutely right, you do. But we know we don't want to organize our essay. We learned this on day one by, I'm going to talk about imagery in my first paragraph. My second paragraph is going to be all about diction. And my third paragraph is going to be about, I don't know, I don't remember what, I guess I won't do a third paragraph. No, see how that sucks? Bad. Instead, if you do it this way, you're breaking down the passage into its actual meaning, and you are freed up, my friend, to put those literary techniques wherever you want. In fact, you're going to put them in every paragraph. And you can put imagery and diction and I don't know what else, repetition and, oh good Lord, all kinds of different things in each of these paragraphs where they would naturally go. And you look like you actually understand the passage and you're going to write a beautiful essay. Okay? The other thing I want you to remember is you're not writing about the characters. You're writing about what Shakespeare is doing, how Shakespeare makes those characters seem, how they come across, how he characterizes them. So, another little piece of gold here. As many times as you possibly can in your paragraphs, use Shakespeare's name with phrases like Shakespeare shows, Shakespeare reveals. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so we need to characterize Lady Macbeth, right? So when we talked about it's this way, that way, and this way, we see her these different ways. Well, one way I definitely see her in this is that she is extremely practical. I mean, there are some other things too, we'll get to those in just a second, but she's all like, go get some water. We got to get rid of the evidence, obviously. Go take the daggers back, right? Give me the daggers. I'll go take care of it. She comes back, says some other stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. Retire we to our bed. You know, we should look like we were sleeping instead of killing people. That's always good. Get on your nightgown. Hey, that's a good idea. How about we get out of the, bloody clothes so when CSI shows up, maybe we don't look like the murderers. She's practical. And when you talk about those practical things, and I'm always jotting notes as I'm getting ready to write my stuff because I don't want to have to think about what I want to say and then try to write well at the same time. Organize first, write your outline first, then write. Okay, you'll have time. So I note all those things that I just read off to you. The water, the knives, let's get back to our bedroom, let's get out of our clothes. And the cool thing is that because I'm talking about meaning, inside this paragraph on her being practical, I can talk about all the literary terms that I want to. All right? We'll get into that in just a second.
Okay, so we move on. Give me the daggers. She uses some imagery here. It doesn't go on and on and on like Macbeth typically does. Again, she's super practical, so she doesn't need to. But she says, if he does bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms with all the blood, with all the guts, for it must seem their guilt. Here, there is imagery being used by Shakespeare to characterize Lady Macbeth as someone who's trying to make this whole cover-up nothing more than putting a beautiful frame around a painting. A very gruesome painting, but a painting nonetheless. This is her way of steeling herself, of dealing with the practical on a night that clearly will mess them up for the rest of their lives. But you see how we're going here? We're talking about she's very practical. Here are the examples. Here are my literary techniques. Okay, so we saw Lady Macbeth is super practical on this night that really needs someone to have a level head, I guess, if you're trying to pull off a murder. But we also noticed that, again, it helps if I have a pen. Here we go. That she says to Macbeth at one point, my hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. Ooh, shame. Okay. So she's shaming him for actually having the sense of fear and not being courageous in this moment. She said to him here a second ago, where is it here? Oh, your constancy has left you unattended. Your strength has left you unattended. You're kind of you're weak. There's right. So two places we've seen her kind of attack him, and where else? Here we go. You're unbending your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things. So I would say I've got three pretty good examples of Lady Macbeth being sort of a shamer. She's real practical in the moment, but she's also a shamer of Macbeth. Okay, that's kind of a weird word, and maybe I don't like it, but I only have 40 minutes to take this test, and I'm trying to write as fast as I can, okay? So don't worry about the words that you're choosing when you're trying to put together your little outline. Just write down the most logical thing that comes in your head, and if you want a prettier word later, you can change it, of course. Okay. Here are my examples. I just gave them to you. I can jot them down. I can talk about literary things that I see in those examples. This image of having a heart that's white, which isn't pure, by the way. Sometimes white means maybe we would use the word yellow, like weak or scared or fearful or uncourageous, which goes along again with some other things. Here we've got imagery, constancy leaving you unattended, Rather than being strong and firm, he's weak and limp. Which, I'm not going to say any more about, but it kind of goes along with other things they have talked about in this show so far. So we can understand that. Okay. Do you see what we're doing, though? We're just finding descriptions of Lady Macbeth, because that's how she's characterized, so it makes sense that we're going to use these words. And we're setting up our essay by that. She's practical. She's a shamer of Macbeth in order to prod him into action. And what's the third thing that she is? Seriously, look at how beautiful that is. You know what else I really love is the fact that these people are out running and I'm driving around eating my cinnamon morning bun from Starbucks and coffee. Yeah, I'll exercise later. Well, you know what? Weirdly, I kind of also see her in this passage as being characterized as an encourager. Even though, yeah, she's shaming him to get stuff done and trying to be super practical about it all, she also continues to go forward with the plan and encourage Macbeth that if they just stick to the plan, they're going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine, right? So, she says, the daggers must lie there. Go carry them. We can do this. He's like, no, I can't. She's like, oh, here's where we got more shaming again. The infirm. See what I mean? Not firm. I wasn't making that stuff up just to be racy. Okay, well, we keep going. She's an encourager. She's like, you can talk about this imagery again. That she's trying to say, no. It's just like a picture that little kids would see. We can do this. Let's keep moving forward, right? We get the shaming stuff down there, but here we go again. Up here. Get on your nightgown. Let's keep going. Don't let them find us to be watching. What else do we have here? Oh, a little water. How easy it is. You see how those are encouraging? That's encouraging diction. And it's also really nice because as far as literary stuff goes, I can talk about that diction being that of kind of an encouraging thing, give my examples. But she also does a cool thing here where she speaks the antithesis, we talked about that word, remember, of what Macbeth says. When she says a little water, well, he had just said a little bit ago, all the seas, right, aren't going to be able to wash the blood guilt off of his hands. So you're able to work his words in there as well, even though the focus is how is she characterized. Now, some of you might say, well, what I saw in this passage is that she's characterized as like the exact opposite of Macbeth. So can I use some of the things Macbeth says to help show that opposition in character? Heck yeah, of course you can. These are my 3 that I came up with like the 40 minutes I have to write, right? And I'm going to write a really good essay. So are you, because you're going to find the 3 major ways she's characterized that are obvious to you. Okay? Again, there's not one right, perfect answer. There's a whole neighborhood of smart answers. You just have to support with actual text. Okay, and last but not least, for those of you who are like, wow, that was actually easier than I thought it was going to be, but now how do I put together my thesis? It's super easy. Look at boom, boom, boom. So, we know that this is coming from Macbeth, and we know what scene it's coming from. So you're a little bit at an advantage here. You could write something as simple as, in this intense scene directly following the murder of King Duncan, there's your context now, you don't have to go back and tell any of the story. Shakespeare characterizes Lady Macbeth as, well, what did we say? Practical. Okay, my writing is really bad. Shaming. I'd like to find a better word to keep those things parallel. But again, I'm just trying to write an outline really fast, and I'll make it prettier when I start to write. And also as an encourager. Maybe in order to pull off their plan or whatever like that. Okay? I guess my point is this. Just put those things, the ways that she's characterized, right into a thesis statement. Now, this isn't a great thesis statement, but it gets the job done. Now, for those of you that are worried about an intro, first of all, you don't even need one. You can just start your essay with this, with your thesis statement, because you're just answering a prompt. Even though you might write a 3-page essay, you're just answering a prompt. Now, if you want something really pretty, two things you need to remember. Number one, do not go outside the text of Macbeth. You know, like in Harry Potter, The Secret of the Chamber, or whatever. Okay, that's not even actually, but you know what I mean. Harry faces a similar thing that Lady Macbeth. No, okay? No, 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 no. Stay inside of the text of Shakespeare's Macbeth. And secondly, make a really short, intense statement that's eye-catching, if you really want to do this, that connects to the point of what you're trying to argue. What's the saying? They say behind every great man is a great woman. Well, maybe you change that up. Even though the saying goes that behind every great man is a great woman, sometimes the great woman finds herself out in front in this intense scene directly following the murder of, whatever. Like, you could do something like that, which if that kind of idea pops into your head, ride that wave, baby, because that's going to make your essay stand out over everyone else who's just desperately scribbling. But if you don't have a great idea like that pops into your mind, no worries. Just write a thesis statement that answers the prompt, shows the reader exactly where you're going in your paragraphs, and then get busy.